remote northwestern parts of Botswana, the largest population of our kind roams these very lands, an estimated 200,000 of us. We've been around for centuries, watching as things have come and gone. Botswana is our home. It's one of our last strongholds in Africa. As human populations increase, so too do both of our needs for natural resources. The Elephants Next Door aims to explore how we elephants and humans can coexist. The series sets out to investigate whether it's possible for you and I to live in harmony. In today's episode, we meet two special humans who have dedicated themselves to conservation and understanding us elephants. We need to listen to each other carefully to fully understand how to find solutions to the conflict between us.
One of the quintessential African scenes, when everybody thinks about going on safari, is watching these majestic elephants roaming across vast wilderness areas in the middle of Africa. And that's just what it's like when you pull up to a spot. It could be next to a lagoon or a river, and these elephants, or could be just one big bull elephant that comes out of the bush, and everything stops. You stop what you're doing and you just observe, because obviously you have to respect that you don't want to upset that elephant, because that can be quite dangerous. But also you're just drawn to this visual of this elephant just roaming across a pristine wilderness quite close to you. And that's a magic experience, and you can never get tired of seeing that and observing elephants in their natural habitat. But I guess one of the things is you keep trying to remember what it was like when you saw your first elephant, and it's always it's quite hard these days as you get older. But that first time, especially in the bush, especially if you're not in a vehicle, or even if you're in a vehicle, what it was like when you came across that first wild roaming elephant. It makes a big impact on you, and I think you will take that memory away with you for a long, long time. And so we are more connected to elephants than we realize, and a lot of that could be just subliminal, and we don't realize it until we meet our first elephant. And that's probably some of the experience, some of the feeling that you get when you do finally meet an elephant face to face in the wild.
We have been here a long time, and we feel a deep connection with all beings on the planet, including humans. There is a deep connection in all of us that transcends our worldly worries.
So I'm from England. I grew up in the western part of England, southwest, in Wiltshire. And from an early age, from about the age of 4, I told my parents that I wanted to study elephants. That was my dream. And they said to me, okay, Anna, if that's what you want to do, then that's great. And they gave me a little ladybird book of zoology. They said, this is what you've got to study, so you're going to have to do well in your sciences and maths. So work hard at school, and then you need to go to university. And I said, okay, fine, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did. So I did have my first encounter with a real elephant would have been at Bristol Zoo. And then I remember that I was in the buggy, and the elephants were in their enclosure, and one put their trunk down. So that's probably my earliest experience of seeing an elephant. But then at the time when I was growing up, it was in the 80s. So that's when the ivory trade was really rife. And so a lot of the stuff on the media was all about, the need to save elephants. So I think I also heard that kind of information when I was little too. And I loved elephants. I collected elephants. Everything in my room was about elephants, from that age,
There was a time when we were hunted ferociously. where we had to hide and travel in small numbers. Times have changed, and our herds have grown bigger. Now, we face different challenges.
After that, I went to school and I did my A-levels in maths and biology and chemistry, and then I decided to go to university in Dublin in Ireland to do a degree in natural sciences and then specialised in zoology. And it was then when I was in my final year at Trinity College in Dublin that I met Graham, who's now my husband. And Graham had come back from Botswana and he was writing up his PhD. And one of my supervisors, she said, Annie, you have to meet Graham, because she knew I wanted to study elephants, I wanted to go to Africa. So she connected us at a party, and that was it.
Growing up as a kid, I always was into wildlife. I was always collecting bugs and young animals and birds and stuff. So I've always wanted to come to Africa. And going through school, I knew that I wanted to study it after school, so I did my degree in zoology in University of Dundee in Scotland. And then literally, when I got my finals, I got a call from a friend of mine who was working out here in Botswana. He was building a safari camp. And he said, well, why don't you come out for a season and help me? So I did, and like many people who come to Africa, it doesn't take long before you get bitten. And I ended up working for the company, building the camp. And that company, Uncharted Africa, and Jack's Camp, it's called, is on the edge of the Makadikari salt pans, which is a massive, seasonally flooded salt lake system in the middle of central Botswana. After 4 years working as a guide for that company at Jack's Camp, I decided that there was so much to learn about the Makadikari salt pan, and so I decided to do my PhD on the ecology of the salt lake system there. That attracts hundreds of thousands, in fact millions of water birds from all over Africa. Palearctic migrants fly there every year because it is one of the most productive lakes in Africa. So I did my PhD there, looking at what it is, why all these waterfowl come there, and what do they feed on? Why is it that it's such a successful breeding site for many water birds? And flamingos are really sort of a flagship species of that system. It's one of very few sites throughout Africa where flamingos breed successfully in huge numbers on a regular basis. So looking at why it is flamingos choose the Makadikari, you really need to understand what makes that ecosystem tick. So yeah, so that was pretty much looking at that whole system, really enjoyed that. And then once I got my PhD, got into consultancy work, and then set up a company, consulting company, that my wife and I did consultancy work through. And then we established a nature reserve just outside the city of Francistown in northeastern Botswana. After a consultancy there, we decided that we wanted to really make this work, and we stayed on and managed the project for 2 years. And then we moved up here to the Okavango Delta. My wife did her PhD on human-elephant conflict up in the Okavango Panhandle. And we decided, when she finished her PhD, that we wanted to make a go of trying to implement some of the recommendations that came out of her research work.
I started to work and get field experience because I had my qualifications now, but now I needed to learn, what it was like to actually work with elephants and gain all those skills. So I started to volunteer for different projects, and I worked for a project at Abu Camp with Kate Evans. I was her research assistant for a year and a half. So I gained a lot of field experience there, and I ran her project when she was writing up her PhD. So that's how I then came to focus my PhD on human-elephant conflict and trying to understand more about that and how can we try and find solutions. And then within Botswana, so right at the top of the Okavango Delta, is one of those hotspots where you've got a lot of people and a lot of elephants living in the same area, and the number of instances are high of the coming together and conflict happening. So that's why I chose to do my PhD study up at the top of the Okavango. And at that time, Graham and I had just finished. We'd set up a nature reserve outside of Francistown. That's like over 1,000 kilometers away from the Okavango Panhandle. But I was so determined that this is what I wanted to do that we had to separate for a while. I went up to the Okavango Panhandle to start my PhD while Graham finished off working on the nature reserve stuff in Francistown. And that all started in 2008. And so for the next 4 years, I focused on doing my PhD. Graham and I went up there, first of all, in 2007. We went up to the Okavango Panhandle to see the area, to look at logistics, look at how can we start, or how could I start my research up in that area. And then I went back up and I took with me a friend of mine, Jocasta Bobeng, who I'd known for a long time being in Botswana. She's a Botswana lady, very good at translating. And so actually it was with Jocasta that then she started to teach me about, how to approach starting research with people in villages, in the communities. So we started off by visiting all of the chiefs and then introducing ourselves, and this is what I was going to be doing. Like, that was done in each village. Then the chiefs agreed that this was a good idea, there was a need for it, and they welcomed the research to take place in their village.
So ka 2001 ha ba simolla ba ne ba ikemetse hela hale ba sa kisa ke se gauhe le bone thata. Na ke kopane le bone sente la ke ta ke simolla go bereka mo coexistence ka 2008. Ke ne ke bereka ke le molomaganyi wa coexistence le bone batsadi mo motseng. Ha re ntse re tsweletse o rare ke ha ke ta ke buelela bone batsadi ba gore kana ba dira tiro ya bone mme ba e dira mo lebaleng be ke le ka go ba kopela shelter go ba coexist re ba thuse ka shelter gore ba boloke dio tsa bone sentle.
I wanted to recruit a research assistant in each village, so someone to help me collect the data so that I could know when things were happening in the village, and they could also help me to arrange meetings, or they could be my translator. And then I chose a location for a camp that was based on a friend's recommendation who had a plot. So then I set up my tent, stayed in the camp, and then I recruited an actual research assistant who came with me everywhere. The guy I chose was from the closest village. It was Nature, his name was, and he assisted me for the first year. So then Jocasta came back because she actually lived in Gweta. So she went home, and then I had my research assistant was from the Panhandle. And then we had all of our community officers. Then I called them enumerators, so someone working for me in each village. And then I also decided for safety, because Graham wasn't with me up there, and I was on my own, and I decided that it was best to have another research assistant as well, maybe a woman, I thought would be good. And so then I recruited a volunteer research assistant. So they changed throughout the period of doing my PhD, but it gave them a chance to also get experience in the field. So I had a number of different research assistants who really helped a lot throughout the 4 years. And then I had to also raise the money. So I had like the whole thing set up. I knew what I was doing. This was my plan. And then I found a really good supervisor at Imperial College London called Professor Tim Colson. So he agreed to be my supervisor. I managed to raise the money. I got given a car by Mr. Sam Glazer from Tati Company in Francistown, who we'd been talking to, and he was the donor for the nature reserve. That helped me a lot because then I had my transport, and then I won a Wildlife Conservation Society award, like a grant, which then set me up to start my research.
It does not go unnoticed that more and more humans come to our homelands to watch us. We don't mind being observed, and really appreciate it if our boundaries in space are respected. But get too close, especially when we have small, vulnerable babies with us, and we will protect our own.
I've been in situations where you're with people who are very scared or very aggressive. And elephants pick up on that very quickly. They're very smart. And that's one of the things I love about elephants. And you know, when you're walking on foot and you come across elephants, you might get an elephant that charges you and wants you to get out of their way and mock charges you. Or you might get an elephant who just turns around and sees you and just accepts that you're there, and you know, he or she just carries on with what they're doing. And that's a magic moment. When you are in their space, you're not in a vehicle, you're not, you know, enclosed or protected. You're vulnerable, and that's magic.
So yeah, and then the two of us said, okay, fine, we are going to move up to the Panhandle now. Graham finished his work with the Nature Reserve and other work that he'd been doing as a consultant, and we both moved then up to the Panhandle. We found a plot, which is now where our kind of main camp is, and we set up our little igloo tent, and we decided that's where we were going to stay, and that ended up being for the next year. Well, since then, so since 2012.
Yeah, and we got funding to do some mitigation measures to help farmers keep elephants out of fields, for example. And the project just grew and grew. Yeah, now we employ 30 people. We're working on everything from helping farmers protect their crops and themselves to working with the land authorities and helping to designate elephant corridors. You know, elephants are obviously one of my favorite animals, have always been. There's so much to like, you know, when you're with elephants and when you're observing them. They're so human in so many ways, you know, the way they look after their young and their intelligence. I've had many experiences when, you know, my wife and I go out with our two daughters and just sit with elephants. And elephants, you know, you find yourself in a situation where you're surrounded by elephants. And you can do nothing but just sit there and be present with them. and hope that they accept you, you know? And, you know, a lot of it is trusting in them and you know, projecting a sort of trust.
We can feel when we are in danger and when we can trust. This is an age-old way passed down from our elders. We can sense things. What we wish for is to live alongside humans, knowing that we can respect and trust one another.
I've spent a lot of time in different situations with elephants, like observing them as a scientist from afar, but also I helped for a while with friends of mine who had 2 or 3 habituated elephants, for example. So I got that close encounter and seeing the difference and seeing the reaction of an elephant to different situations. And yeah, they're such intelligent and social animals. I think there's nothing quite like it. I mean, there are other amazing animals, but for me, elephants are the pinnacle, you know. I mean, they have been since a very early age. I've just loved them. And I can't necessarily pinpoint exactly why I did when I was a child, apart from that, you know, they're a cool shape, and you have your lots of different toys and things which are elephant shaped. But then as a scientist and someone who's studied them, I mean, it's just everything about them. They're incredible, you know. I wouldn't want to study any other animal, despite being a zoologist. I'm still 100%. Yeah.